Some do, and some don't.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming in for our second Cliftonville Classroom Talk with Lauren Kennedy from Making a Buzz. I shall hand over to her and she can tell you all about her subject.
Thank you. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us. My name's Lauren and I am the Outreach and Volunteer Officer for a project here in Kent, specifically North Kent, run by Bumblebee Conservation Trust. So we're a national charity and we've got projects all over the UK looking at protecting our brilliant bumblebees. Now there's a really good reason why we've come to Kent and set ourselves up here. It is the best county in the UK for bumblebees. So in the UK, did you know we get 24? Thank you. We get 24 different types of bumblebee in the UK and we find 22 of them in Kent. It's the best county and that's for a number of reasons. The climate, definitely one. Lovely warm day to illustrate that today. But also the variety of different habitats. So the different ways that we use land here in Kent. So we've got gorgeous cliffs, chalk grassland, grazing marsh, and then we've got lots of farmland producing arable crops and soft fruit as well. So all of that comes together to provide lots of different areas for our brilliant bumblebees. Not just that, but Kent is home to some of the rarest bumblebees in the UK. So some of those images are along the bottom there. We get some really rare species that call, especially North Kent, their home. When I talk to people about bees, usually the first thing that comes to mind is the honeybee. It's definitely the bee that gets the most press and is in the honey making business. So we get one type of honeybee in the UK and that makes honey for us. They're really well looked after in those lovely hives that you see and produce our honey for us. And they live in a really complex society, overwintering there together. That's why they produce honey, to get them through the winter months where we don't have any flowers. But our bumblebees are very different. So as I mentioned, we get 24 different types, which is a lot more. And they are very different in their appearance. They're really fluffy, those lovely big fluffy jackets, and they do an incredible job of pollinating lots of the food that we love. So not only do they pollinate wildflowers, which provide food and forage for lots of other insects, lots of other wildlife, but they also pollinate lots of the food that we rely on. They are intrinsic to our world. We rely on them, but even down to dairy and meat production. Wildflower food in their grass and food is brilliant for producing meat and dairy. So bumblebees provide that pollination service for free and they get very little thanks for it as well. So our bumblebees play a very special role. Not only are they superhero pollinators, but they are the only thing that can pollinate tomatoes. This is a tomato plant, and as you can see, the buzz of a bumblebee vibrates that whole flower and starts to release pollen. So no other insect can do this job. So every tomato that you eat in the UK, every dollop of ketchup, every slice of pizza is made great by our brilliant bumblebees. So it's thanks to them that we can enjoy a lot of that brilliant produce that we love, especially here in Kent. So an incredible job they do for us. So it's a no-brainer that bumblebees are really important and that we need to look after them. But why are they in the media so much recently? There's lots of documented declines of lots of insects, but especially bumblebees. Well, it's no surprise that we've changed the way we use our land drastically over the recent decades. Since the end of the Second World War, we've lost 97% of our wildflower meadows. We changed how we farm. We had to produce so much more food in the UK, which meant that we had to use all the available space, take out hedgerows and use edges, which meant that we changed our landscape as well as constantly urbanising and growing. We are growing at an exponential scale and changing the land as we go. But it's not all doom and gloom. There is so much that we can do to help insects and pollinators. So we work with lots of farmers in this local area and around Kent to put in wildflower margins, native hedgerows, and spaces for not just bees but for wildlife. And we get such an excellent response in Kent, working with lots of different farmers. We work with a few other landowners like councils, like Thanet District Council, to green up areas and make them really flower rich. We also work with Swale Borough Council on a bee roads initiative. So that's allowing road verges to flower and have a great diversity of flowers, so food for bees. But the best thing that we can all do is actually right on our back door. So gardens are arguably the most incredible resource that we have now in the UK. Unlike nature reserves, they're all connected. So if everybody did a little bit in their gardens, you are providing food for wildlife, but also a connection for nature to move through our landscape. There's a particular reason why we've set up in North Kent. It's home to not just 22 out of the 24 species, but one in particular, which is the Shrill Carder Bee. This is now the rarest bumblebee in the UK, and we find it in North Kent. It is a really beautiful little bee. It's straw in colour with a black band and then a rusty orange tail. We've got loads of leaflets back on the store so you can take a closer look at this bee. And it lives in really small little nests of about 100 bees, and it likes to nest in long undisturbed grass, which you can imagine is quite hard to find these days, little wild spots in our landscape. And it loves food, flowers from the pea family, so it loves red clover as a perfect example of a really good flower for this bee. So it'll be a bit hard to see on this map, but our project area encompasses all of our sightings for this bee. We're trying our best to make sure that we're looking after this very rare bumblebee. So you can see that we've got sightings all along the coastline with particular hotspots further west along the coast towards Sheppey and the Coombe Peninsula. But we hope that over the course of our project, that by increasing the brilliant habitat for bumblebees along the coast, we can encourage that bee to move along the coastline, allowing it to forage in greater areas. So hopefully we can bring it to Thanet. So what can we all do for bumblebees? Well, I mentioned a bit about gardening already. That is the best thing that you can do. Having something flowering through the seasons is the best way to look after our bumblebees in the garden. We've got loads of information on the stall and free leaflets to take away that will let you know some of our bumblebees' favourite forage plants, but also a little bit about the life cycle and how best you can support them. If you're able to leave little wild patches within your garden, that's brilliant. You could encourage a nesting bumblebee. And as you can see, every flower helps. That's a globe artichoke there, and it's absolutely smothered in bees. So putting the right things in, you really will get bee activity. I get lots of questions about encouraging nesting, so having wild spots will do that. But you can also put bee hotels up, which will help solitary bees. So that's a different type of bee, but really important equally for pollination. And having a variety of different flower types is a really great thing to do, because our bumblebees have different length tongues, which sounds really niche, and I bet you didn't think you'd hear about the tongues of bumblebees today, but they all vary massively. So we've got a species which has just come up on the bottom there called the garden bumblebee, and that has the longest tongue out of all of our bees, and its tongue is the length of its entire body. So this is the bee that you find on really long structured flowers like foxgloves. So it can send its tongue into the back like a straw and drink the nectar. So having a range of different flowers, from foxgloves and pea family flowers to daisies, which are very open, that will encourage lots of different species of bumblebee and other bees as well. We have a brilliant part of our website called Be Kind. And on that you can get some great gardening advice. How it works is you select all the flowers that you already have in your garden, and it will give you a score. based on the size of your garden as to how good your space is already for bees. And then it'll give you some really great suggestions as to how you could improve that, what you could put in that would help complement it. And you can even put in details like your soil type and how much sunshine you get. So it gives you some really lovely advice as to things that will complement what you have and increase your bumblebee activity in your garden. So our project, that I've mentioned a bit already, called Making a Buzz for the Coast, we run Dartford to Deal. So Thanet is a really important area for us, but we cover most of the North Kent coastline. And we are very, very lucky to be funded through the lottery fund. So it's thanks to everyone that buys lottery tickets that we're here today and are able to carry out the work that we do. We work with lots of charities and other organisations and councils in order to create and restore as much habitat for bees as we can. It's a really big project, it's got a massive area, so it's only through working with others that we can hope to achieve all that we want to in such an ambitious project. Not only creating habitat, but we also do lots of engagement work, just trying to spread a little bit of love for our bumblebees and how brilliant they are, and what we can all do to help them out. In Thanet in particular, it doesn't show up very well on my map, but I promise I do have blue circles on there that highlight the two areas that we do a lot of work in this local area. So we work with the brilliant volunteers at the Sunken Gardens at Westbrook, Undercliff, if you know that area. I've got a colleague with me here, Bex, and she's just been at a task day there, doing some planting and lovely garden pottering. It's great fun. So we meet there on the last Saturday of every month to do lots of different activities at the gardens there. And the volunteers have been incredible and have injected a real bit of passion and love into that area, and it's looking beautiful as well as being so good for our bumblebees. So we do lots of different conservation task days, but we also work at Four Nest Point, so the beautiful grassland above Botany Bay, and we look at how we help manage that site to increase the flower diversity, so there's loads of food for bees, as well as having long grass areas that can be great nesting as well. So not just that, but we tour the coast, going to brilliant events like this, as well as workshops, gardening workshops, creative workshops. We've got loads of stuff on throughout the summer. So if you'd like to know a bit more about what we do come and chat to us on the stall, and you can visit Bumblebee Conservation Trust website and look on the events page. And we do loads and loads of different activities. So that's it from me. Perfectly timed. We are Making Buzz for the Coast, and we've got a lovely store with Thanet Coast Project, who work locally as well, just on the end of this row, with loads of free resources and some bumblebee specimens as well if you want to come and have a closer look at our brilliant bumblebees. So that's it from me. Thank you.
A very big thank you to Lauren, wasn't that interesting? Yeah. And our next talk will be starting at 1:30, and it will be Wellbeing and the Arts, so I hope that you'll hang around for that, and we'll see you back in 10 minutes or so. Thank you. Thanks.